Howdy guys, so all of that was actually recorded on my X-T3 with continuous autofocus the entire time using the Fringer EF2FX2 adapter so that I could use my Sigma 18-35 with a Canon mount on my Fujifilm camera. And I think it turned out pretty well. I shot a bit differently than I normally do. Usually for stuff like this where it's just a stationary camera, this really excels. I have had zero issues. I mean, I have it on right now, and I feel pretty confident that it has a great hold of me. Howdy guys, so this is just onboard audio. I didn't really feel like rigging a mic up for this, but this is just a test to see if you're interested in more of this vlog style setup. This is an 18mm, so I probably want a wider lens, I would imagine, unless this is enough for you. This is me holding it out at arm's length. But especially in good lighting like this, it should be keeping track of my face pretty darn well. And then if you find something interesting, put it in front of the lens. As long as it's not too close for the minimum focusing distance of this lens, it usually does a pretty stellar job. Again, this is not something my kind of style, but in case you're curious, it does look and work pretty well.
And over here we have some additional testing. This is me very scientifically walking towards and away from the mirror so you can see what tracking an object from further and closer, how that actually tracks. As you see, if you pull away very fast, then yeah, you might lose it for a second. But overall, I think it does a pretty good job.
This really is just me showing you that there are options to bring in your Canon glass, but this is the only lens that I've actually tried. I think if it works on this, it's going to work pretty darn well on everything else. I use this mainly for stills for quite some time, but I figured that I would throw this lens on here and really try video. And I've been really happy with it, other than the kind of large size that this kind of becomes all in one package. It really doesn't have that big of a downside. Of course, the on-camera audio, I'll switch to that. Probably wouldn't use it with this lens because this particular lens has some pretty loud focus motors. I think maybe it's not optimized for video, who knows, but definitely you're going to want to use something off camera. So any sort of lav system, something wireless is going to be the way to go if you want to use this for anything that you want audio with. This is going to be very straightforward, but if you want to install this, it's dead simple. You just get the adapter, install it onto your lens, and then install the lens onto your camera. I will note that you don't want to do that while the camera's on. I think I accidentally did that once and it kind of froze the camera. I just had to take the battery out, put it back in. But just a reminder in general, you're probably never going to want to install a lens while the camera's on, especially if it's some sort of weird adapted lens. So now we are doing a tracking shot, and I have this going for face and eye detection, but if the subject were to turn around or obscure their face at any moment, it's falling back to an area track. So that way it always stays in focus as long as you keep your subject in that box. Of course, if the eye becomes visible, I have it set to go to the eye tracking. You can set a preference for left or right, but I just leave it at default, so it just goes to whatever it can find. If you want to actually update the firmware, which the company has been providing some pretty good support for it, the adapter actually has a USB port, a micro USB port inside of the adapter, and you just grab a micro USB cable, plug that into your computer, download the firmware. The adapter actually shows up as a drive. You just drag the firmware update into it and it just appears to disconnect and reconnect and you're set. I think I've applied at least 2 firmware updates so far and I have had no problems either time. And so far it has a pretty good track record of really continuously improving what they have. If a new camera comes out, they usually put out an update to support that camera. So I have pretty good or pretty high hopes that this is going to continue to work, especially with the new cameras like the X-T4. Now, if you have any other questions about this, if you want to see any other different kind of tests or any other gear in general, please let me know. Feel a comment down there. Feel free to follow me on my socials, subscribe if you want. Other than that, you'll have a good day. See ya.